G'day everyone. For those who came in late, you're listening to Expand the Fan podcast.
500 years ago, he washed ashore the sole survivor of a shipwreck. And upon the skull of the man who killed his dad, he said, I'm mad, I must eradicate piracy, injustice and cruelty, and all my sons will follow me, so evildoers will believe that this man cannot die. The Phantom, the ghost who walks.
We are Chronicle Chamber team, and this is Expand the Phantom podcast. Our website is chroniclechamber.com, and you can contact us via email on chroniclechamber@gmail.com. And we'd love it if you subscribe to the podcast as well via YouTube, iTunes, or any of your favorite Android apps. This is episode 181. It's hard to believe we're up to 181. February 2021, comics and news. I'm Dan, as you may know, or may not if you're a first-time listener. Both of the boys, Jermaine and Stephen. How are you guys? Steve, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Dan. It's a busy start to the year, of course, in the teaching profession, but yeah, no, we're good. What about you, Jermaine?
Oh, mate, I've just tasted full lockdown for 5 days, and hats
5
off.
days, you poor
Hats off to everyone who's had to do it for months and months, like all the people in Melbourne and throughout Europe and all that, especially if you've been looking after kids as well. 5 days was enough for me, so looking forward to going to work tomorrow.
Very good. Well, it's nice that you got a taste of it. We haven't had a full lockdown like that in my hometown, so I've still just got the memories of last March to draw on. But anyway, as we always say, there's lots of real stuff going on in the world, and if you want to go and listen to a news podcast or whatever else it might be, then you'd be doing that. But you're not. You're listening to us, and so you're here to hear about the Phantom and all things comics and news for what's been going on through the month of January and into Feb. I must say, and Jermaine and I were just saying before you joined us, Steve, there was actually way more news than I sort of expected when I ran through the run sheet that Jerm had put together for us. There's a fair bit going on.
There is. I'm just having a look at it now, and it's a busy month coming up.
It is. So
a busy month
that
it's been
said,
as well, I should say too. There's things coming. There's things that have been. It's flat out if you're a Phantom fan.
It is. It's a great time of the year.
It is. I guess it's a lot of the new announcements for the year. But anyway, that being said, we do need to get into it because this has got all the hallmarks of a podcast that we think is going to go to sit for 60 minutes and ends up for over 2 hours. So we don't want that to happen. We're going to try and push through it as quick as we can. So we're going to start with the comics, and we'll start with, as we usually do, the Australian publications. There's only been 2 issues come out this month. But that doesn't mean there's any much less to talk about because we've got the annual with 7 stories and one of the replica editions with 3 comics from in the 50s, from the 50s. So we're going to start with through 1884, which is the annual, the 2021 annual, the Cy Barry Artists Special with the cover by Antonio Lemos on the front, and I think that's probably the one of the key talking points that come out from the annual. So first up, let's talk about the cover choice. Jermaine, what did you think?
I'm kind of conflicted because I like the cover. I like, and I love Antonio Lemos's work. However, it did feel a little bit strange having a Cy Barry special who's still alive and kicking and doing fabulous work, which we've seen with the Mellon Diary, the poster that you brought out, and some of the other stuff that they've done with Herms, and it being a cover by Antonio Lemos.
He's got some really nice prints on his website.
Yeah. I've heard that there was extenuating circumstances, but I can't confirm that. I haven't been able to get a confirmation on that. It was just a pity that we, it felt a bit of a miss for me. What did you think, Steve?
Yep, I agree, but this is a good backup.
Yeah.
I reckon this is a nice backup. Just like you said, it's a nice cover. If it was for any other cover, issue apart from a Cy Barry special, you'd be saying, what a fantastic cover.
Yes,
but
exactly.
when you say got Cy Barry special plastered down underneath, you're probably expecting a Cy Barry cover. However, it's a great cover. It's just not done by Cy Barry.
Yeah.
And I like the back,
Mm.
the showing off different elements of the stories.
Hold up the
with
back
him.
for us while you talk, Steve.
Yep, got her up.
That's
So-
a much better. That's a much better view, Steve.
Is it? Oh,
Not so great for your audio, so do make sure we can still hear you.
I do have I've got the video on thumbnail, so I can see the run sheet. So I actually don't know what you guys are looking at, but I can get the hint. I'll shut up
Yeah.
now then.
Well,
Sorry, mate.
in terms of the back cover, as you were saying, Jim, there are elements of each of the stories that are inside, which is really cool. So that ties it together as a book, I guess, and you're getting a hint of all of the different stories inside. And in terms of the front cover, it almost, the only thing it's lacking for mine is a little bit of the in tribute to Cy Barry comment, or what's the word they do? Homage, Cy Barry homage or something, because that is very much a scene that Cy Barry is well known for. There's I haven't got the comic in front of me, I'm sorry, but there's one of the previous Frew specials, issue 1600, 1700, something like that, had a cover with the Phantom and all of the family and other characters.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Anthony Tollins recently shared another one on Facebook as well, which I think was used in a Phantom. So it is a makeup or a setting that is a Cy Barry type style.
It's missing the kids though. There's no kid or Heloise, is there?
There's no Heloise.
I would have thought that was Rex that was down.
Oh yeah, well you're right. If there's only one of them, it would have to be Rex, wouldn't it? So yeah, no twins, which is an interesting one.
Which probably harkens back to Cy being, thinking back to the 60s era, I guess. But he did draw the twins, of course. But I don't know.
But no, I do take your point, Jim. It does. There's so many possibilities. Pete Klaus even had a Cy Barry print about halfway through last year that he had turned into a poster. So there's lots of unpublished Cy Barry work around that could have been pulled in for the job. But anyway, that being said, let's talk about the contents. We've got 7 stories. We've got The Mysterious Ambassador from 1963. I don't think we're going to go through and talk about these story by story, but we'll
just go overall, eh?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Go through the stories though, which as you started off.
Yeah, so it starts with The Mysterious Ambassador from 1962-63. The Mysterious Passenger is the second story, published in early 1970. 71 was the first time that it was in the papers. Then we have a run of daily stories, The Attilan Mystery, The Moxley Awards, and Nukes, which are stories 177, 178, 179. So consecutively published from 92 to the end of 93. The Plotters is from a year later, and our final story is Tiger Tiger, which was also from the early 1990s. It's a Sunday story, though, the rest being dailies. So what did you think of the collection of stories?
What I've read of them so far, I like the collection. I'm only up to the Attilan Mystery. I only just finished that one today. I haven't gotten through the rest of it. But I'm looking forward to reading the rest of them, because that early 90s period, I was, about year 7, year 8. And what I would do at lunchtime is go to the library, and they used to have the newspaper sitting on top of in a central location, really, at, like standing height on top of some filing cabinets, and you could flick through the newspapers. So I remember going to the library at school and flicking through the newspapers, and you're looking at the sports section and you're looking at the comics. And so
what else is there in a newspaper?
Well, you don't need anything else, really. So as I was reading the Attilan Mystery, I thought, I remember reading this in the paper. And so I'm assuming that I'm going to have the same sort of feel when I read the rest of them. And it's also around about this time that I started collecting the Phantom as well. So I think one of them last issue, first only published in 1050, I think. And that's around about when I started, I had the paper round, and on the Saturday after my week was finished, I went and picked up that issue of the last 2 weeks of the Phantom. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these again.
Heavy nostalgic value for you.
For me, yes, absolutely. And before we crossing over to Germ there, when I started reading the annual, like the Mysterious Ambassador, and you've got you got Luaga there, and he's a doctor helping in the jungles of Bangala. I was thinking, because I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of fandom stories like Jermaine does, I was thinking, geez, it'd be nice to read the story where he becomes president. Oh, look what happens.
Yeah, it's a great story, that one. The Mysterious Ambassador would have to be, it would easily be probably one of the top 10 Falk and Barry stories. It's also in the Avon novel as well. I think it's number 6 in the Avon novel collection.
Well, it's the story that introduces General Baboa as well. It's his first ever story. So,
General Baboa's first story. Yeah. It's the second. I think it's a key nemesis.
Oh, just that he goes on to be the only real longer running character that Lee Falk ever used. So I think he put him in 6 or 7 stories, and no one else got anywhere near that many stories.
Yeah. It's also the second story that Luaga's been introduced in. So that was, I think the previous stories was the epidemic, and so there was a nice continuation of the stories joining together and, learning a little bit more about this doctor called Luaga. To be honest, the stories are good. The Mysterious Ambassador is a great story. The other stories, in my opinion alone, are fairly average. But the artwork is solid in majority of those stories. I think Tiger was a little bit weak, the artwork, but if you're using this, the theme is Sky Barry, or Cy Barry, sorry. So, in the theme, this is a nice collection of showing just how much of an awesome artist he is. And it also has a nice range from, the early 60s to the early 90s. And, it would have been maybe nice to have a couple, maybe 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s instead of just 60s, 170 and the rest 90s. But it's a good display collection of what a master and what a legend he is.
I think in that, I agree with you in terms of if it was truly to be an artist showcase, that would have been a good way to show the progression and change, because it does change. The Mysterious Ambassador from 1963 and Tiger, what's 94? The Plotters, which I think is Cy Barry's last story, last Sunday.
No, that was Phantom's World.
Phantom Cowboy was the last daily.
Yeah, Phantom's World was his last Sunday. It swapped over halfway through.
Right. Okay. So, it's right up there with one of the last.
Yeah.
And his style changes dramatically from one to the other. Yeah. So it would have been interesting to see those steps. In that sense, it's almost a little bit of a writer's showcase, because you do see, as I said, consecutive stories: 177, 178, 179, and then 181. I'm not sure what 180 was, but it must have been more recently published by Frew, because all of these stories, and to their credit, Dudley has continued to stick to must be 20 years since we last published it. All of these stories are well and truly over the 20-year mark, and some of them
about 25. We're close to 25 years, I reckon.
Yeah, and especially those stories from the early 90s, a lot of them were only ever published once. Back in 92, 93, 94. So in that sense, we've waited nearly 30 years and there's only been one public prior printing of it. So in that sense, to people who'd be critical of more reprints of old stories, not everybody, and I say this a lot on the podcast, I think, but not everybody has got that one issue that came out 30 years ago sitting in their collection and have read it. Yeah. So in that sense, it is still good that we get these stories come out for those who came in late to catch up on some,
and I think
great art and some great stories.
It's important that we keep reprinting these stories and keep having these stories and stuff like that, because, like you said, and we've discussed it in all our podcasts, including our last one. We want to have new fans, and for the newer fans, and not everyone's old and grey or bored like us. There's younger people than us that read the Phantom, and yeah, not all of them can afford to have Phantom comics from 30, 40 years ago. So it's it does make sense. I would have, on the flip side, for the Krusty fans, it would have been nice to have something new for the older Krusty fans. I'm just not quite sure what it could have been. Maybe an interview, maybe a collection of Cy Barry's, like an artist showcase of some commissions that he's done from around the world in the last 10 years. Could have been
I think that would have been great.
Pages, or
5 or 10 pages, sort of with 2-3 images per page of commissions that he's done, and I think that would have been nice, a nice addition of things that we hadn't seen before, and pays tribute to that showcase special idea.
Yeah, maybe even like a sketchbook instead of the replica. Could have had maybe like a little sketchbook, so it could have been 10, 20 pages, commissions, some doodling. There's people that have got original artwork. I'm sure there's some pencils and inks floating around, some pictures of Cy back in the 60s when he's, to the 70s when he's all hip and stuff like that, and rocking it in the 70s along with everyone else, and then to the 90s when, and I don't know. But it's easy saying that in the comfort of my Phantom room and not in the Frill office. But if I had the keys, that's probably what I would have done.
Well, we might timestamp this and send this conversation to David Barry, because I think that might be the sort of thing that he'd absolutely put together.
Yeah.
And would COVID restrictions have anything to do with any of this as well? Like getting Cy to I don't know, does he store all this stuff at his place? Would he have to pop out somewhere to go get it?
You would think he'd have photos of a lot of the commissions and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I know he also recently moved, and then there was also the passing of his wife a couple of months ago. So I think, and we've kind of alluded to it before, we think that might be a few of the circumstances why it didn't happen. But, I don't know. Maybe they could have, I don't know. But I like the idea of themes. I think themes, theme annuals are good.
I do happen to know where there's a transcribed interview with Cy Barry that we would have been probably quite happy to copy and paste and send an email to Fru to put in the back, with full attribution to the Chronicle Chamber podcast when we've interviewed Cy Barry. I think that might have been back in episode like 54.
Yeah,
seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a few years ago now. He's been on a couple of podcasts, but that first one I remember certainly being. We were all so excited that getting up in the middle of the night to talk to Cy Barry, and then I listened to that podcast 100 times while I faithfully typed it out word for word. So that would have been some nice reward for effort if that had gone into the back of a Fru.
Yeah. That would have been right. Well, there is precedence for it. They put in an interview with Wendell Cavallanti once that we had published into English. So there is some precedence for that.
Anyway, I guess we're starting to talk now. Oh, go on.
It was episode 53.
3.
And 113. So 113 and 53. Just for those who want to dig those out. So
you'll have to go back to the podcast. You'll have to go back to the podcast for that one, not YouTube, because I don't think we were putting those ones. We weren't doing YouTube back when we were doing those podcasts.
I tend to forget they were still doing YouTube. I'll just wander around and start picking my nails.
Yeah, me too.
There's been a few times like, you start picking your nose or rubbing your nose a bit too much or something like that.
I actually, this is a bit of a side, but we got a new TV. First time I've owned a smart TV last week, and I pulled up the Chronicle Chamber podcast on YouTube, and we look terrible. Like that.
I haven't done that yet.
No, Wouldn't encourage you.
That's why.
I would encourage our listeners. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why we started off with as a podcast only.
That's right.
But anyway, did you guys actually like the annual?
Yes, I've liked what I've read of it so far. I've liked, and even with my untrained eye,
Well, I was going to ask you.
I've noticed the difference in his art from the '60s through the '90s, and I think he mentioned it back in the interview that we did back, episode 53, how he was directed to kind of copy the style of those who've gone before him, and you can. I'm just looking at a couple of pages now from those early stories. Sorry, from the Mysterious Ambassador, I think he's got a bit of a Wilson McCoy look about him in the Phantom, and then as you go through the '70s and definitely in the '90s is Size Phantom.
Yeah. So, what about you, Dan? Did you enjoy the annual?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed going back and reading some of these stories because you do vaguely remember them. The reading the stories is like putting on a warm pair of slippers sort of thing. But they're not stories that I've read heaps and heaps of times, so they're still relatively fresh in that sense. It was interesting and I guess this is more from the writing point of view. It was interesting to see Lee Falk dipping back into familiar themes, in terms of Phantom helping out save a dictatorship, basically bring dictators to justice. So a couple of the stories had that plot in mind. The plotters, that story in particular, there's some Phantom is rough on roughnecks in the plotters. If you want to see if you want to see a Phantom, not quite Punisher level, because he's certainly not shooting or killing anybody or anything like that, but he certainly lets the bad guys know they've been bad. That's for sure. So no, it was I did enjoy the content of it. What about the whole I guess package? You've mentioned the replica already. Actually, I should hold it up like that. So we've got a replica of issue 31, which you've got to be careful because it's designed to be opened in landscape format. But you would have been thrilled, I imagine, Jermaine, at the return a replica.
I prefer the pack of cards, actually. To be truthfully honest, I haven't opened mine.
Right.
The last couple of annuals I've really, really enjoyed. This annual, while it's probably better than some of the ones in the late, in the late of when Jim Shepard was around, like the early 2000s and stuff like that. This is still better than that, but this will probably be my least favourite of the Frou Cruise annual.
I can understand that because the Frou annuals over the last few years have been a really good mix of, and I guess we're thinking particularly of the war annual, the war themed annual was a really good mix of old stories and new.
And then you've got
international.
Yeah. You've got the girl one. You've got there's been some really good annuals. Yeah, the Western one. But hey, not everything can be a winner. I think some of the criticism in some parts was a little bit over the top. I don't know. I reckon, out of the 5 or the 6 that Frou have produced, it's probably my least favourite. But
that might be something a topic to add to a future podcast that we're planning.
Yes.
Add that to the run sheet.
Yeah. But for some people might not know, if you scourge Facebook and kind of look at some creators' social media posts and stuff like that, and I know not everyone would have seen it because I know, Stephen, you didn't see this comment.
No.
But we pulled up a bit of a comment from one of the Frou Crew people who we're not going to give it all away because some people don't like all spoilers, but I think it's fair to say that they have seen the criticism and they're looking at going more down the path of continuing with the themes, but I don't know, like how can we say it? having a future theme with some newer stories. So I thought that was interesting, and they're still undecided about the replica or the pack of cards or extra stuff as well. And they've thrown it out.
A simple calendar or poster would work a treat.
And they've thrown it out to the readers to have some opinions as well. So we'll do a social media post on this. But if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you let us know what your thoughts are without giving too much away. And you have both got the person's comments. Is there anything else from those comments that I have maybe missed that you want to highlight or quickly comment on?
You want to talk about the trade paperback? Whereas it just seems like the people aren't going into bookshops to pick them up. And having said that, every time I go into a bookshop, I'm always looking for it. And I'd never see a Phantom trade paperback or graphic novel or whatever. Yeah. But I do see things like Tintin and Asterix and anything pretty in Marvel and DC and all that sort of stuff. But I haven't seen the free one in any of the bookshops here. Of course, I'll see them in the comic book shop, but not in a mainstream bookshop. So
and feedback from my comic book shop is that the trade paperbacks walk out the door pretty quickly. Very popular.
So whether they're actually getting out into mainstream shops or not might be another issue.
Or whether they even are, dare I say it, whether they're even aware that they even exist.
But even if they, but if they were in the bookshops, even non-fans might find them.
Yeah.
Not so. Rather than having, I think, the usual bread and butter fan is just going down to the local news agents, grabbing up their local their latest Phantom, whether it be the annual or replica or issue number 1886, I think is next. And it just gets into that routine and isn't making a special trip to get the trade paperback from anywhere. So that could be an issue.
Yeah, I think, and this is... Oh, you go, Dan.
Oh, just to bring it back to the idea of the annual, also the suggestion in the comment here that they're tossing up a colour annual. That would blow people away, I think, if suddenly the colour was the annual was completely in colour. As we were sort of discussing on our last podcast.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to digest from those comments. We'll probably discuss some of the comments further in one of our upcoming podcasts, but I just wanted to kind of raise that. But I think we made mention of this again in our last podcast, is that we said exactly the same thing, that bulk of the readership get their comics from the newsagent. So,
well, what do you think would happen if we go full extreme the other way and the annual is nothing but brand new stories, all in colour? Basically, the suggestion was there that essentially it's a trade paperback in any other name, but you put it out as a regular issue or as the annual. So I think that's the way to go. Most people still think of an annual as $10. So that's going to be a bit of a concern, because we all grew up as the annual being $10, and now that we might have to fork out $25, it might be a little bit. Well, it's already. You say that's what our memory of it, but this one was $17.50. They're not $10 anymore. That's certainly closer to $20.
Yeah.
So if the trade paperback is
trade paperback's about $30.
So
yeah, cool. All right. Anything else you want to raise, or should we move on?
No, let's move on. Let's sorry, Steve, I'll assume on your behalf that we're happy to go.
Yes.
All right. So the next one is 1885. Holding up that one there. The familiar now Clayton or Bartlett, is it? Clayton Barton is the name of the artist. Sorry for the cover. We've seen that a few times now, 5 or 6. And we've got Diana Atrix Lost. We've got Tale of Devil by both of these by Lee Falk, of course, but Diana was by Ray Moore. Tale of Devil is illustrated by Wilson McCoy. Diana and the Bank Robbers is another Lee Falk and Wilson McCoy, and we've got The Prisoner of the Himalayas by Lee Falk and Ray Moore.
Good stories.
Sorry?
They're good stories.
Yeah, they are good stories. I will admit, I've opened it and flicked through it, but I haven't read these ones because these are mostly stories. Most of these are stories that we have read a few times before. Did you read these fresh for tonight, either of you guys?
I haven't even finished the annual. I haven't finished that one. I don't usually look at that one.
All right.
I do it every now and then, but
yeah.
and when I do, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't go out of my way to do it because, well, they've been heavily edited and I've probably read them recently.
Yeah. Now, in my opinion, I'm not sure if you guys agree with me or not, it felt like a major miss. We had the Christmas album in colour. We had the first issue by Jason Paulos in colour. Then we had the annual, which, while I didn't enjoy the annual, there would have been many people that did enjoy the manual. And then we had a replica series. It felt a bit like a miss or a major, letdown, being on those high of 3 good issues and then having a replica series. It just, Yeah,
I'm in the same boat there. Having, like, the annual was just like all old stories. There's nothing new in it. And then the very next issue is more old stories. Yes, we like the old stories, but we don't want to get them all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm in the same boat. I would have preferred if the replica series was a couple of issues down the track rather than the very next one.
Yeah. Dan, you going to disagree?
Yeah, I am. Look, I certainly understand your point, and I hear what you're saying, because we do have so many stories in the annual that even dedicated fandom fans haven't been able to get through them all again, and even just the fact that it's a 100-pager, is 116 pages. The replica series means that it's weighty to get through again if you're trying to keep up and read all of these every 2 weeks, sort of thing.
How much is it? How much is it again? Sorry, Dan.
For some people, it's going to be a bit of a speed bump at the start of the publishing year, I suppose. But the schedule is, maybe they need to shuffle the schedule around. But to get the replica out quarterly, it's got to come out at a point in time. And what I would say is that we know that on the Frew website now is issue 1886, which is the start of what looks like a really exciting little period of time with Frew, with the Vultures saga, a brand new story.
Looking forward to that.
From Penny Anderson and Anthony Spey, as well as a Fandom in Vietnam story, which we've been calling out for. So there's some exciting things coming, and I'd rather get this out of the way with all due respect, rather than have pop up halfway through a saga.
Why do you make good points, Dan? That's a good.
That's a good point. My counterpoint is that you had the Christmas album, which was $15. Then you had Jason Paulos's issue, which was $5. Then you got the annual, which is $17, $18. Then you got this is another $10.
Yeah.
So Stephen, you told us a story tonight about working as a paper boy and saving your money and going down there every fortnight. It's an expensive last couple of months for the 12, 13-year-old kids out there.
That would have taken my pay up. I didn't earn that much as a paper boy.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be able to go to the movies with your girlfriend of the month. So you would have been up to all. You would have it would have been a very disappointing month. Now, a question: can we maybe stop at issue 100? Do we have to go all the way down? Can we just maybe stop at 100?
What are they up to?
120.
122. It is. It is certainly taking a long time to count down. If I guess, what are we doing? 3 issues per.
4 issues.
3 of the old issues. So 12 per year. Got 122 more, 121 more issues to go. So we're looking at 10 more years of the replica series counting down. It's a valid question. It depends a little bit, and we've mentioned this before when we talk about the replicas. From a business point of view, they're cheap to produce, and it's one of their 26. Well, it's 4 of their
People obviously
26
like 'em.
issues they can get out every year,
Mm.
minimal cost.
Yeah.
And there are people who like them.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on from there.
Okay. All right. Well, the other question that I guess has been raised on Facebook a little bit is something that Frew haven't done on this on this occasion, and it's to do with, I guess, it's to do with fraud, really, on eBay, where people who are buying the replica and then pulling it apart and pretending they've got 3 old comics and then trying to on-sell those. We know that the first and even the second replica issues that Frew brought out in the 90s when they started the concept, have made life hard for collectors who want to tell the difference between an 85-year-old number one and a 30-year-old number one, which is getting increasingly difficult unless you know what to look for. And people are saying that perhaps Frew need to be more careful of, or do something with those splash pages to make sure that they stand out and people can understand that those are this is a replica rather than an old one. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they need to write that
yeah.
replica by the M or something like that. It needs something.
They did it last issue, I think.
Yeah, then didn't do it this time. Yeah.
Yeah. But that cover that you just pointed up of, what was it, 122 or something like that? Yeah,
122.
Yeah, it's a great cover. That's Dudley's Facebook profile picture, and I've actually got that comic as well. So read into that as what you will.
Look, for mine, it's eBay is always a little bit buyer beware, and if something looks too good to be true, then it's probably not. And I think if you're someone who's going around buying early 100s Phantom comics online, then you probably know enough about them to know to look out for the replicas, I would have thought. So I don't think it's as big a deal as some people are making out.
Yeah.
It would make it easier, though.
It would.
That's just my opinion.
It would.
All right. So we are going to go around the grounds now. We've, as we said at the start, there's only those 2 Frews to get through, and we want to hear from the rest of the world at this stage. Now, all right. So we're going to go around the grounds, and when we go international, we have to go to Sweden to hear from Mikkel Lick. Swede, because not only is he going to tell us all about the Phantom comics from January, but hopefully he's also going to give us an update on the card game, because that Kickstarter, we've seen that parcels are getting posted and we're very excited. So hopefully we'll hear from him as to where that's at as well. And there's a bit of news coming out of Sweden, so I think he's going to throw us to the big news item of January, really, the biggest news. And I'll let Mikkel introduce that when he does that. So thanks, Mikkel.
Hi, welcome back to Sweden and some more Fantomen reviews with me, Mikael Lyck. I'm gonna go through these 2 Fantomen issues today, double issue 2-3 and issue number 4. Starting off with the 2-3. This might be my favorite Phantom cover of all time. It's so cool and dynamic. Henrik Sahlström really kicked it out of the park this time. Wow. The attack on the Jungle Hospital is more or less the title of this main story that returns to the future and follows the twins' adventure, written by Klaus Rometti and art by Janus Orden. One of the bigger gangs that now rules the outskirts of Mavitan are a bit down on their luck and want some easy cash and realize that Dr. Torbjörn Axel's hospital is filled with medicine that can get money and fuzzy feelings. They decide to get there, but unlucky for them, Moss has a vision of this and tells the twins. I don't want to spoil anymore, but as I said multiple times, I really enjoy this future version. I know it's not for all, but it's excellent in my view. Then there was 2 Falkberry stories, the Mystery of the Island of the Dogs and the Adventure of Lucy Carey. And again, black and white. I hope they stop printing these in black and white. And also, like, the strips, let's see if I can find them. Yeah, they changed size here and there. It bothers me a bit that it's like really small and then there's big, and the Mystery of the Island of the Dogs is a great story in many ways, a real classic. The portrayal of the girl, Janice, would probably not look like that if this was written today, with her just sitting at the pool, hoping that beautiful, rich, single men will come and woo her away. But yeah, it's a great story. And somewhere here, yeah, they wrote the same text on 2 different bubbles. So, I mean, it troubles me a bit that I want to know what was written in this one, but not enough that I go back and read another version of this to figure it out. But yeah, I don't like that these things are getting through the quality control. The Adventures of Lucy Carey, again a classic. I love how it's almost 2 stories in one, with the 19th Phantom story and then the present Phantom story. That's it for this issue. Issue 4 of 2021. Sahlström does it again. Great cover. I don't want to spoil too much on what's happening in these stories, but this perspective, it looks like a grave. Yeah. So the vote for best cover was planned to be in this issue, but there was not enough pages to do it, so it will be moved to the double issue 6 and 7. The main story is called I vråkarnas klor, and that's In the Claws of the Vultures, written by Claes Romerti and art by Janus Orden again. It's continuation of the twin stories from the last issue, and here the focus switches over to Diana's old boss, that wanted her to not publish the report in earlier stories, and then the report got tampered. That made Diana a fugitive from the law. Again, this is a great story and great art. A lot of talk has been about how great it would be with a Netflix series about the Phantom. I might be in a minority, but I think this 20-second Phantom story would be a great first season to introduce the heritage of the Phantom, while also looking forward to the future with a male and a female Phantom. Yeah, and except for that, there is a second story that is an old reprint. It is The Goddess of Death by Lee Falk and Özkan Eralp. So it's like the Fencing Master in issue 1 this year. This is a remake of a Falk story, the Tagis, that was done by Lee Falk and Wilson McCoy. Diana is kidnapped and the bad guys want a ransom, but gets the wrath of the Phantom instead. And coming up in the next issue is The Little Detective Who Disappeared, a Sunday story by Tony DePaul and Jeff Weigel. And The Gold of Destiny, another one of these Özkan Eralp reprints of a remake of Lee Falk and Wilson McCoy story. That ends the review part, and now let's go over to news. As you might know, I created a game, The Phantom the card game, and it's being shipped to many addresses right now, but Americans and Australians will likely have to wait a bit longer though. But you can see how many copies I have in my home, at least if you're following me on YouTube. So all of these boxes are filled with games, and also the ones here is in my living room. And each of these boxes have 10 games in them, and I also have my storage room here filled. And this is only 1/3 of all the games, and I shipped around a sixth. The second news item is really big. As might be known, is that Mikael Sol, the editor of Fantomen, resigned and only has a short time left on the title. Now we know who will be his replacement. Andreas Eriksson, and this is great news. I did not know who Mikael Sol was when he took over, but I think he did a great job and I'm thankful for all he has done for Fantomen. Andreas, however, I do know who he is, and he is a huge Fantomen fan. In his youth, he showed that he knew his facts when he appeared on the 10,000 Kronorsfrågan, a game show where people with specific knowledge answer questions about it, and he won. He is also a member of the Scandinavian chapter of the Lee Falk Memorial Bengalas Explorers Club. He does editorial work on the yearbooks, have written 2 Fantomen stories, and have already helped out with editorial work on Fantomen when Sol was on sick leave. It will be super interesting to see what, if any, changes he does. That's all from me. Happy Fantoming!
And we're back. Thank you so much, Mikkel, for all of that. I'm very excited, particularly about what you said about the card game. But as you've just raised, the Andreas Eriksson is the new editor for Fantomen. He's going to take up the role. Well, he's probably doing a lot of hard work behind the scenes right now, I imagine, and maybe doing some job shadowing with Mikkel Sol, perhaps. Who knows? But getting himself ready to take over for issues 7 and 8. And that'll be his first issue of the year. So we're excited about this because Andreas is a longtime friend of Chronicle Chamber and yourself in particular, Jermaine. And so he has said that he's going to come on to a podcast with us at sometime early in the journey. We're looking very much forward to that. But I'll hand over to you, Jerm. You know Andreas the most and the best of all of us. How are you feeling about this announcement?
Well, when Mikkel made the announcement that he was going to step aside, there was one name that I thought had to be it, and it was Andreas. But there was a couple of reasons. Well, there was one main reason which I thought it might be a stumbling block. Fortunately, that's been overcome, and Andreas, in my opinion, is the best candidate to take over. He's a long-time fan. He's a couple of years older than me, so he's similar age as, say, like Mikkel. So hopefully he's got 30 years plus of life within him to do this job. No pressure, Andreas, but that's how long you have to do it for. And I think that's what you're after. You're after someone who's knows the character extensively, who is young enough to be able to do it for a long time. And then the beauty is he's actually got a publisher background. He's got a magazine and a comic title that he does. He does the magazine with his wife. It's a cat magazine. So if there's any cat fans out there, not Catman or anything
I was just
like
thinking
that.
he's going to be taking the Catman stories now that Prue's been doing.
No, he's actually like pretty fluffy type of cats in Sweden, and he's done a great job with that as well, extending like the subscription levels, the readership levels and stuff like that as well. So he knows what he's doing. He's not just a fan that's been thrown in the deep end. So I'm very excited. So from you guys, and I guess you to be able to speak on behalf of a lot of the other fans who might not know him as much as I do, like, what are your thoughts about it?
Well, I just hope he continues to put out a good product without any hiccups, really,
Yeah.
It'd be great if he can increase readership amongst our Scandinavian friends. But yeah, look, there's been great stuff coming out of Fantomen lately, with the 22nd saga and what have you. So onwards and upwards, and best of luck, Andreas. We're rooting for you.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that my internet connection is coming out all right at your end, because I'm struggling a little bit to hear what you guys are saying. But just to reinforce what both Jerm and Steve have said, I guess I'm looking forward to what Andreas can bring. We obviously, or people may know that he has he's done the job before for a little while, stepping in and doing and being a part-time or a temporary editor while Mikkel has taken long service leave at various times. I'm excited about as Jerm said, his extensive history with the character and being a fan of the character and bringing it into into the next phase of his journey. And with that, I think we should do the official tip of the hat and the wave of the good mark to Mikel Sol, who didn't come into the job as a long-term fan and sort of had to learn a lot as he went. And as the post we put up a little while ago on chroniclechamber.com, when he announced his retirements, you'll go through his achievements in the role over the nearly 10 years that he was there. He's done a remarkable job. So thank you very much, Mikel Sol, for all of the work that you've done. And looking forward to seeing what Andreas can bring.
Yeah.
Is there anything in particular you're hoping for, Germ, in terms of a new direction for Funderman?
I don't know about a new direction. What will be interesting is that he is a Falkist. He loves the Lee Falk stories. He loves the newspaper stories.
That is me breathing a huge sigh of relief.
So I reckon, and he's not like
Gonna kill off Sandal Singh. First thing he's going to do.
that was actually the first question I said. I said to him, so
just never seen again.
So just to kind of when I found out the news, I said, "Oh, sweet, you're a Falkist, so that means that Sandal Singh's son is not the Phantom's. Is not the Phantom's illegitimate son." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Because you would not do that to Lee Falk's character." And so he didn't say yes or no, but he is a Falkist. He loves the newspaper stories. He has a huge respect for him, and Mikel Sol did as well, and he said that on our podcast as well. So I think we will see. A healthy tip of the hat to Lee Falk and his legacy. Andreas has writing experience as well. He's written various Phantom stories. He's written one for Phantom Men, and then I believe there's several that are in the pipeline for Frew as well. So, I have utmost faith in him.
Yeah.
Have the Australian stories that have been printed here in Frew been printed over in Phantom Men yet?
2 have.
Oh, right.
So for those, that is Jungle Love and Hero Complex.
Ah, yes.
I wonder if Sweden has got enough experience or history or memory of the Vietnam War for them to be excited about taking up those sorts of new stories.
Yeah. Look, Andreas was I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but I'll just say it. I believe Andreas was quite influential in getting the Jungle Love story published in Team Phantom Men.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was involved in it somehow. So, and he's been working with Dudley and Glenn for a while. I'm not sure if Frew readers will know whenever they've published an old classic story from like the 70s and 80s. Dudley always says, "This was one of the stories that was recommended to me by Andreas Eriksson." So, that
70s, Scandinavian story.
Yeah. So they've got a good working relationship as well. So I fully believe that it will probably be even closer than what it has been the last couple of years.
Mm. Yeah. And he's contributed a couple of feature articles, I feel like, for Frew, at least 1 or 2 that I've read in various comics over the last few years. So there is that relationship there. Now, if you are a Falkist in particular and you'd like to encourage Andreas about Sandal stories, for instance, that's Eriksson with 1K and 2 S's for any searching that you're doing on your various social medias. All right. You're welcome, Andreas. Okay, so the next bit of news, I guess, is the board game update. Now, it's not as big as the new editor for Phantom Men, but in a sense, it's hopefully the culmination of something, because there was an update for the Kickstarter supporters recently. Steve, would you like to give us a bit of an overview as to what I'll throw this quickly to you. Do you remember the update? Do you want to fill us in on what the news is?
Is it exactly what's the first point here?
If not, I can.
Yeah, just read the points. Yeah, just read the points.
Because I can't remember what I've read. But yes, it's shipping. February is Phantom Game Month.
Yes.
I'm so looking forward to a board game and a card game. after 40 years of not having anything, we've suddenly getting 2 games in a month, hopefully in a month. It's is it in the country? I can't remember. Or is it coming out?
Yes.
From
Yeah, I think our understanding is that the
it's all
board
in
game.
Dudley's. It's all in the Dale's lounge room. He's sending him off. Is that right?
I think Frew have it actually. I think that Frew their part is distribution. So I suspect that they just are accumulating boxes and getting ready to post. It sounds like we're very, very close and should be coming out in February. And, yeah, I can't wait.
Oh, I'm pumped.
Now we can also confirm that
The review. We'll do a review of the game as soon as it arrives, and it'll be there's probably a couple of reviews to do with the game. Really, one will be the unboxing and unveiling, and let's enjoy this as a collectible. And I think maybe even a second review would be okay. So we've played the game, and here's what we think. So probably a couple of videos in that. You reckon, Jerm?
Yeah, and then of course there'll be the trade paperback as well review.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, just to confirm, going back to the shipping bit, is that we can confirm that the international shipping has been done as well, because we've heard back from a fan who's actually got a link and is tracking his shipping of the board game as well. So that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah. I guess I got one of the questions that I'd have, and I say this as someone with a vested interest, who pledged for the game at a higher level than just the base game or the trade paperback. We know the trade paperback is going to get posted separately, or do we know that? Are Frew going to put the trade paper? I assume they probably, if they're all distributing it.
I think it will be together.
In that box, but
I assume so.
But what if you were next level? What if you got one with the figurine or the original artwork? Do you reckon Frew are going to post that out as well?
I think it depends who's got it. If Frew's got it, it might mean that Frew are publishing it. But if Dale or Alex have it, it probably doesn't make sense in resending it up to Sydney and stuff like that. I would assume, and
maybe that means I get an extra little package in the mail.
Yeah, which I don't think anyone will mind getting 2 packages instead of 1 package.
Jeez, if they're going to be grumpy about that, go take a long walk off it.
I would assume that it'll probably be separate, but that's a pure speculation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as Steve said right at the start, game month, bring it on. Let's get this card in. Mikel has told us about that, and let's get the board game arriving.
I'll laugh if I get the card game before you two fellas.
So maybe we should tell the listeners a little bit of banter that's been happening in the last week. Is I don't know the reason why. I think it was because of the level we ordered or something like that.
I think you got 2, I got 1.
Yeah. So Mikel sent mine and Dan's together. I think there was like about a 5-minute difference.
Separate boxes, but at the same
separate
time.
boxes, same time. But Stephen didn't get his because of the pledge level or the order that he did. I think his is going via distribution. And so me and Dan have got the tracking numbers, and I don't know about you, but I'm checking it every day or every second day.
I'm checking it right now, and there hasn't been an update since it left Sweden, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it's been rather fun because I think for a period of time, mine arrived at the international airport and yours hadn't. So, there was a delay by about 15 minutes, but still. There was
15 minutes. Oh,
15
minutes.
So because I think basically whoever gets it first, basically how we're doing it is we'll be doing the unboxing review. So I think that's how we've organised it, so that way we'll get it to you as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, as soon as my tracking app says it's entered the country, I'm going to be coming home from work at lunchtime just to check the mail. And if you're listening, work, I'm not going to do that, of course. All right. Let's move on. We've got the next bit of news is about the 2001 Malin Diary. Now we did preview,
2021
did do a
Malin
video preview earlier this month, and I'll just hold up the cover of that that preview copy that we've got again. So make sure you go down to YouTube, chroniclechamber.com, and check out our YouTube channel and our review on that. There's not a lot of news on that one really, other than to say that the printing does look like it's going to be, well, here we are, 7th of February as we record, and it's not in stores and it hasn't been started to be posted out to people who have pre-ordered. So obviously it's later than they were hoping, and haven't got word at this stage as to when that will be. But with Chinese New Year about to start in less than a week, things might be looking grim for it arriving in February, which is unfortunate.
Yes.
Still, not much can be done about that. It's not the greatest news, but as I said in the preview video, and I do encourage people to go and see that if you haven't already. It's a book that I'm a bit excited about when it comes out. I think that's going to be very well received when people do receive it. So get your orders in for that. Send an email to info@malin.net.au. And get your or go to our website, obviously chroniclechamber.com, for the link to the order form. Anything else you guys want to say about that?
Nope.
I better get my order in.
Well,
Yep.
we did cover that one pretty well. I do have been meaning to ask my local comic shop to order a few in. I think even without me being the one who buys it, because I've obviously got one on order already, then I think he'll find that they'll move as quickly as the trade paperbacks once he's got them.
Yeah, and especially if the trade paperbacks.
All right, next big news, and this. Yeah, they do at the comic book shop. That's always the feedback. All right, next bit of news is about Boss Fight Studio. Now, these are figurines that we're very excited about that are being released in out of the United States. Now, was it these or the Nika ones that are actually in Walmart stores now? I think it might be the Nika ones.
Neither are out.
Oh, really? I'm sure I saw a post about a week ago or 4 or 5 days ago saying that they were going to be released in Walmart stores very soon. I was thinking
they're both. Day. Yeah, they're both.
No, maybe I'm making that up.
Yeah,
I thought. Anyway, Boss Fight Studio has announced a second wave or 1.5 wave. I'm not sure exactly. It's like, who knows about how numbers work when you're releasing things. But anyway, it's a second release, I suppose, of action figures that they've got. So the first wave that has included the traditional purple Phantom, as well as a female Phantom or a Julie Walker, but in the garb, but in blue. So those are currently part of the first wave. Part of the first wave is also a grey suited Phantom with Hero, which is not available for pre-order just yet. Wave 1.5, which is due to come as a pre-order, it looks like later this year. So whether that's March or April, we see the pre-orders available for Wave 1.5. We should be screen sharing these, or Jermaine, you can put up pictures on the side, I'm sure, of the blue Phantom with some little people, which is interesting. Prince Vlad on his flying bird, as well as a red garbed female Phantom, Julie Walker, together with Chronicle books, which is again
from the Chronicle Chamber.
Well, the Chronicle Chamber is not bad, like it. So this is exciting news, if only because it means there must have been enough interest in Wave 1 that they're confident enough to go ahead with a wave and a half later, another few figures. What are your thoughts?
Oh, it is.
I can't wait to get Prince Vlad. And I mean that.
And then you're going to get like a Stegosaurus and like put up posts on Phantom Collector like every second day.
I'm going to have I'll have Lego palm trees and stuff. So you've got Stiggy coming through, and I'll find a caveman as well if no one else is going to take it.
But no, it's
well.
Good.
That's exactly right. In the Moxley Awards from the annual, they've got the little dinosaurs as well, the little Brontosaurus and Stegosaurus and Tyrannosaurus Rex.
That's that story.
Weird and wonderful.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, I think it's great news. I really do. So the blue and the purple Phantom from Wave 1.0 is currently available for pre-order. Now, what's actually interesting is the Zorro and Flash are shipping or close to shipping at the moment, and we've been told that the Phantom's not far behind. So if we had to speculate, and this is just pure speculation, we don't have any inside word because, we haven't asked, to be honest. But we're probably thinking March, April for Wave 1.0. Apparently there's been a bit of a delay with the Grey Phantom with Hero, but I don't expect that to be too late because, they've already got the Phantom figurine, and then the Hero is a horse figurine, which they've done.
And which looks amazing.
Well,
I did some scrolling on their website and looked at one of the other figurines that they had with an accompanying horse. And the horses are not easy to draw. They're certainly not easy to sculpt, and then to turn into an articulated figure. I think it looks amazing, and I'm really that's probably the one that I'm really looking forward to. Of course, I'll sub him out for the Purple Phantom pretty well quickly, and have the Purple Phantom riding up on Hero. But I'm excited for that one for sure.
Yeah.
What do you mean that horses are hard to draw? All you do is you draw a unicorn first, then rub out the horn.
Fair enough. And then Wave 1.5, I believe, will be probably available for pre-order. I would say probably end of February, if I had to guess again.
What are your thoughts on the additional figures? Because they're the Little People Chronicle books.
I think it's all about getting people to buy them, and they're little extras, little things, and not everyone's going to buy them. A lot of the selective people, or the completists, will buy them all. Probably like myself, and probably like you guys, and most of our listeners will probably buy them all. But then you're probably going to have the people that, say, for instance, if you're just a Swedish or a Norwegian fan, you might just buy the Blue Phantom and Blue Julie. But then if you're a South American or a Europe fan, you might just go the red. So, and then if you're Glenn Lumsden, who believes that the Phantom should only be grey, you're probably just going to buy the Grey Phantom with Hero. So I think it caters
one if you're
well.
only going to get one.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of doing it, because you will get everyone who buys everything, but then it caters to everyone out there. And then I
probably would have rather. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Okay, sorry, my internet's patching in and out again. Sorry. I probably would have rathered a devil figure before the Little People. Little People would seem to be fairly well down the list of bonus Phantom characters to get. It's really interesting that they chose that one, because it's such an obscure. It'd be interesting to know how many stories they've even appeared in. It wouldn't be heaps.
Not compared to the devil.
No.
I wonder
if you're going to choose between Prince Vlad and Devil, you're going to pick Devil every time.
I would have thought.
Yeah. I think Wave 2 is probably a little bit bigger of a splash than, say, a 1.5. Or, in my opinion, the way I read it, a 1.5 is more of a filler, more of let's add some more, to the Phantom and kind of expand that a little bit. Where I would assume Wave 2 might be the Phantom with Devil or something like that. It's interesting. NECA, they did Zuffy, the animal, with the Phantom as well. So, I don't know.
Which I guess makes sense, because that's a Defenders of the Earth character, at least.
Yeah. So I guess just read into it as you will. But I reckon we might see Devil in Wave 2.
Looking forward to Wave 2.
And just to clarify, Prince Vlad has appeared in 8 Phantom stories, which is probably more than I expected, and was mentioned in one more, for a total of 9, all by Lee Falk. No other creator has gone near Prince Vlad and the Little People.
Read into that as you will, but I think I know what I agree with.
That's just a fact. That's not a comment. It's just an observation. All right. Well, we
probably
just
not.
mentioned, obviously, we've been talking about the Nika figures, and Jermaine mentioned Zuffy. Some sad news, actually, around Defenders of the Earth since last time we got together, and that is the voice actor who played the Phantom in that series, Peter Rickman, passed away, which is possibly something that didn't come across a lot of people's radar, but with as many ears out as we've got, a Chronicle Chamber has 1,000 ears and 1,000 people sending us messages when things happen in the fandom world. Peter Rickman passing away. Any reflections on his role in the or place in the fandom universe? Either guys.
Well, when you think about it, there's only been a handful of actors and voice actors who have actually played the Phantom. Even if you include all the obscure ones like the 3 Kizim Mask Turkish movies, someone like Paul Hogan who played it in an episode, or Peter Kingston with his short little Phantom movie. There's still not many people who have actually played the Phantom. So when one of them dies, I reckon there will be maybe between 10 and 20 people that have played the Phantom in total. And so when one's died, I think it's, because the Defenders of the Earth is a great show as well.
You've forgotten, of course, Duncan Munro, friend of the show, who played the Phantom in the Sammy J ads for Hero Complex, and most memorably, I think, in the Chronicle Chamber radio play, where show in podcast number 100, where we had the radio play, and he was our voice actor there. So. But you're right. There's not that many, and for us to lose one, and Peter Rickman obviously had a much greater career than just voice acting for the Phantom Defenders of the Earth as well. So
yes,
our best wishes to his family and loved ones.
Yes.
All right. Next item on the agenda is that Hermes have announced a new reprint series, I guess, on the back of the Avon novels not being around. And we talked a bit about this when we were doing our best of 2020 and what's going to come next into the Hermes Press publishing agenda. And they've announced that it's the DC series from the 1990s. Now, this, I think, is fantastic news that they've decided to reprint these ones. Stephen, what are your thoughts? Have you read the stories before? Are you a fan? Are you likely to buy these ones?
I think it's great news. I do already have all those comics, and I have read them and I enjoyed them. So I probably won't be picking up. Well, it's not like I pick up much of the other hard copy stuff. It's hardcover Hermes stuff. It's usually out of my price range. But if it just so happens that I've got the $80 or $90, whatever it is Australian, and I see it in a shop, then I might just pick it up. But yeah, it's good. For those of you who haven't read the stories, they're great ones.
Yeah.
Hang on, make sure I don't get them confused with the Marvel ones. But it's all going. Is it going to be all the DC ones? Like there was from memory, there was a 3 or 6 part, and then there was a whole 12-month.
So there was a 4-part series, which is by...
Is that the one with the red-bearded fella?
It was with a pirate, and there's 2 stories. So there's Rackman or Arkman or something like that, and so it's like the 13th, 14th Phantom fights him, and then the current Phantom is in an almost parallel universe fighting against the descendant of him, and then you've got Rex reading the story of the past Phantom and stuff. It's a great story. It's done by Peter David, who did one of the other Herm stories as well. And then that series had the front covers by
the Tarzan crossover.
Gibbons, who was who's well known for the Watchmen series as well. So he did those Phantom covers as well. And then you've got the second series, which is 13 issues, which we've interviewed Luke McDonnell and Mark Verheyen on the podcast. And interestingly, we asked them in both those podcasts if Herms has actually ever contacted them about doing a reprint series and whether they'll be interested. And at the time, neither of them had contacted them about it. And so let's just say that maybe that's where Hearn's got the we're going to strongly suggest that's where Hearn's got the idea from.
I thought you might claim it.
Yeah, of course, but it's great. So the first one will be
I thought Free would come to the party first, but good on you, Hermes.
yeah. So the first volume comes out in May 2021. I would assume you'll get all 3 volumes this year. I don't see why not. Maybe one early next year. So volume 1 is going to have the 4 of the mini series and then 2 of the regular series. So issue 1 and 2 in the one volume, and then I guess maybe volume 2 will have 5 or 6 stories, and then the other one will have the 5 or 6. Yeah. But it's I hope they go down the track of adding, whether they get a transcript of our podcast or use it as a reference, but hopefully they like get some extra documentation from Mark and Luke, and they add that into the book, whether it's in a written interview or they use it as part of an essay, or maybe some original artwork and some sketches and stuff like that, because there was just some amazing behind the scenes in both of those podcasts that that deserves, I guess, to be also included in those reprint series as well.
Well, we have talked before about the possibility, maybe not on air, but certainly behind the scenes, we have talked before about the possibility of creating a Patreon level that allowed us to transcribe all of our podcasts, because certainly that's not something I'm ever keen to do again. I'm very happy to pay somebody whatever it costs to type that up. But it would be great to have that transcribed, and maybe we should even get in touch with Hermes and say, hey, do you know that this is out there, and perhaps you'd be welcome to include it, because you're right. It's those sorts of little extras that Hermes Press are generally pretty good at doing. All of their books will include extra interviews, whether it's with Dan Herman himself, has often had the interviews with the creators or whatever. So they're very good at adding those extra things in. So I'm confident that we'll see something. And as someone, I guess, I've probably collected about half of those books, I suspect. And certainly haven't read all of them by any stretch. So looking forward to getting those in a bound edition. I would think probably 3 books would cover the 2 runs, similar to what you said there before, Jermaine.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be buying them. Will you as well?
Yeah, I'll be buying them. I don't have all of Herm stuff, but I've got. I'm missing, some of the dailies and Sundays, and majority of the Avons, but apart from that, I've got everything else that they publish and release and stuff like that, because their hardcover stuff it's just amazing. You got a dust jacket, nice bright colours. They do a great job in reprinting the stuff. So I'm really looking forward to the series. Yeah. What's actually interesting is I think Mark, who's the author of the series, he's actually said that he's already pre-ordered the books as well, so he's pretty excited about it as well.
There you go. Well, I think that the other reprint stuff that they've done, even the color stuff, is from the 60s and 70s. It'll be really nice to see some crisper 90s colors in the way that Hermes produces things, because they do a marvelous job. All right, another new series that is coming out, and we've speculated a bit about this in a past podcast, but we've got some confirmation now, and that is the German series that's going to come out from Wick Publishers. We've got a bit of information about this on the website, but Jerm, you're all over this story, so why don't you let us know what's going on with Wick Publications in Germany? Okay,
so just to let everyone know, there'll be links to everything we've discussed. I'll link it up so you can actually click on it, whether it's in YouTube, iTunes or YouTube or whatever. But so basically out in May 2021 again. So May is going to be a busy month. It's going to be 12 comics, and inside the 12 comics, there's going to be 22 stories. Now, of those 22 stories, 5 have never, ever been read or seen before. And that's including by the German readership from the old Bastille series. The reason that happened. The other 17 stories have been published by the Bastille publishers before, but majority of those have never been. There's only been one German story printed in English, And a lot of those other stories I think there's been maybe 5 or 10 that have been published in other publications as well. So for probably 90% of the Phantom readers, these will be stories that that you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Now, I believe, I can't confirm, but there's going to be 2 or 3 of those stories are going to be in full color. So for the color fans out there, that will be exciting. Now, on our website, we have an interview by Peter Menningen, who's actually the 3rd most prolific Phantom comic book writer. And he's the guy who wrote these stories. And then the artist is, and I apologize ahead of time, Jose, but I'm going to mess this up. It's Jose Maria Ortiz Tafela. I have actually tried practicing that as well. I think that might be the best one.
It sounded good there, Jim.
It was one of your better ones, Jim.
It's definitely the better one.
Yeah, it was Jose, not Jose or something like that. I have practiced that one.
I was waiting for Josie, I'm not going to lie.
I wanted to see what he was going to say for the next one for the covers.
And the covers was by Ertuğrul Edreen, he's a Turkish artist who's living in Germany now. And he's very popular in the European scene. And he's done some Phantom covers for all the old Turkish series, reprint series, going back 5 years ago. From memory, we actually included some of his covers as our favourites of previous best-of series as well.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there's an article, there's an interview, with Peter Menningen, and also Ulrich, who's actually the publisher as well, on our website. So there'll be links for those if you want to refresh your memory as well. But this is quite exciting news, the fact that we've got now Germany also printing and releasing Phantom comics as well.
So do you have a German friend who's going to start sending these over for you? Are you going to
Yes.
order them from the website?
Of course he does.
I'll be getting them. There is a website. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's in the article. So you can get them via there as well. And I've already organised basically that I want one of all of them. We'll probably, when the first one comes out, we'll do a video review of it. And then of the others, we'll either get a German friend to do an English review, or it will just be me telling you what I like about the pictures.
Maybe red and white.
So if there are any
we'll
German fans out there who's listening to this, who can read them and wants to review them for us, please get in touch with us, because we would love to be able to include them.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, if any further comments on that, Steve, or anything else that we've talked about tonight?
Yeah, well, actually, I do have a little bit of a further comment on something mentioned earlier. We were talking about the NECA Defenders of the Earth figures, and you mentioned something about Walmart. So I did a little bit of searching, and thank you to, let me just get, I'm not going to say it's my own, it's thefwoosh.com, so THEFWOOSH.com, so credit where it's due. They've got an article about the release of the Defenders of the Earth toys, and where you got your Walmart thing from. This is not exclusive to a specific retailer. However, Walmart will have a 30-day advance window on these prior to them being released more widely. So when the time comes, if you want them right away, Walmart will be your hunting ground. So Walmart gets Defenders of the Earth a month before anybody else, according to thefwoosh.com.
Right. I knew that was it doesn't give a date at all.
No, they just say the first quarter of this year. I think I saw that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
well, that's promising, because we're halfway through the first quarter, so it must be soon.
Must be soon.
Now, we have been in touch with some comic book shops around Australia, trying to find someone who will be bringing these in. So if you didn't want to basically get them from outside of Australia and then bring them in with the exorbitant prices and all that, We found a comic book shop that we'll be bringing in. We're just discussing with them at the moment, so we'll have that probably in an article or on our next Comics and News podcast as well. They did say that there's usually about a 1 to 2 month delay from them being released in the States to them being shipped here and then to being able to send them out. But we are trying to find Australian stores, because that is a question we've been getting. So we are trying to find some Australian stores that will be able to order them in for you.
And also, if you check out this website, they've got the toys out of the package. They've got them in different poses, some fantastic lighting there. It actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, no, they're brilliant. They're larger than they're 6-inch, so they'll be larger than boss fights.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think both are going to be amazing.
Oh, the attention to detail, Ming, is incredible.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, that's all extra news that I had for you.
Good work, Steve.
Yeah, well done. So thank you for proving that I wasn't just making it up.
Never.
All right. Any further comments on anything, Germ? Anything that you've been researching while the others have been talking?
No. I reckon this is going to be in under an hour and a half. I'm quite proud of ourselves tonight.
Just click over to 11 o'clock. It's time for bed.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, I'm glad that we've been able to get through. And there's so much good news. Obviously, the death of Peter Rickman, but otherwise, it's so much positive stuff that we've been able to cover. And as we've said a number of times, games about to land. New series about to be published, toys coming out. You know, what a time! Who would have thought? Might be the way that we come out of a pandemic with Phantom stuff being showered upon us. So,
yes, our wives are going to say, "Where's all this money going? We were saving up for a holiday."
Well, everything's $20, so
yeah, you can't have everything, wife.
All right. Well, for all of that news and all of those links we've been talking about at various times, you can go to chroniclechamber.com and catch up with all of the latest and in a lot more detail for you to read and digest than what we've just given a bit of an overview tonight. If you've got if you spot anything in the wild, you think that we should know about it, you think that it might make for some interesting news on the podcast or on the website, please email us at chroniclechamber@gmail.com to give us a bit of a heads up. We love that sort of stuff. And if you've got any other comments or on anything you've heard tonight, please hit us up via that avenue as well. We're also on all of the social medias, well, most of the social medias. So if you do a search for Chronicle Chamber on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, any of those, then you're going to find us and get the latest in our social. And of course, you're listening to us on whatever app or device you're using at the moment. So please find the subscribe button on whatever it is you're listening to us on, and make sure you get the latest episodes as they drop. All right. Well, I think it has been quicker than I expected tonight, guys, but I've really enjoyed going through all of that with you. Thank you very much for your time tonight. And until next time, happy fandoming.
Happy fandoming.
Happy fandoming, everyone, and stay safe.
How much sleep have you had, Dan? The amount of gaffes you've done.
Oh, record.
Follow me, so evildoers will believe that this man cannot die. The Phantom, the ghost who walks. The Phantom, enemies beware. The Phantom's always there, but you won't mind the Phantom. He fights